Hey, Walter Sorrells back with more tips for the knife maker. Today, got a new shop and I'm broke. Okay, today I'm going to wrap up my series of videos about moving into a new shop by talking about the financial side of moving to the new shop. So in all seriousness, am I broke? No, but I can tell you that moving my new shop was really a substantial financial hit. So today I'm going to tote up every nickel I spent so you can see just what this move looks like financially. If you're planning on building a new shop or moving, or if you're just curious about what goes into running a knife business, this will give you some hard facts to chew on. Now, at the end, I'll give you some lessons learned, some things that might help you if you're planning to move. So let's jump into it. First, let me tell you what I actually did in case you haven't been following my every move for the past 4 or 5 months. Basically, my wife and I sold our house of 25 years and moved to a new location in a more, rural sort of area. The whole justification for the move was to get me out of the old, small, tiny garage shop that I've been working in for over 20 years and into a new, larger, more useful shop. The new property had an existing shop, so I didn't have to build a metal building from scratch. I just had to take possession of an existing metal building and tailor it to my own uses. So, from this to this. So generally, I'd say that the money that I laid out can be broken down into 2 general categories. The first is moving expenses themselves, and the second is the cost of tailoring the shop to my needs and generally just getting things up and running. So let's look at the move itself. Thanks to a bunch of help from my buddies Dan and Mike, I didn't have any labor costs. I will be forever grateful for the work those guys did. As a result, I didn't have to hire riggers or a moving company or any of that. I did rent a U-Haul truck that I carried the majority of my small items in, and a trailer from Home Depot that I used to transport my bigger machines, the lathe, the mill, hydraulic press, all that stuff. U-Haul, $612.88, gas not included. I did a lot of running back and forth, so I had to keep it for over a week. Trailer, $57. Engine hoist rental, $146.22. I made a little bit of a mistake here. I should have just bought an engine hoist to begin with. If you have a bunch of heavy gear, you need a gantry or a hoist or even a pallet jack to move them around. If you rent these kind of items for a day, they're really not that expensive, but if you're moving things around for several weeks, as I was, you're better off just buying the thing and then you got it forever, or you can sell it if you want. I ended up throwing in the towel later on and buying my own engine hoist, so that cost me an extra $320.99. Of course, if you have a buddy who can loan you one, that's ideal. Same with the truck, same with the trailer. I also spent about $250 on plastic bins at Lowe's. Okay, so moves over, turning to the actual shop expenses. The first challenge was the electrical. I had a lot of rejiggering to do just so that I could plug in machines and make them actually do something. There was an existing 200 amp service and lots of outlets, including some 220, both 30 amp and 50 amp, but mostly the wrong outlets in the wrong places. As I've mentioned in other videos, I did electrical work back in the day, so I was able to save money by doing it myself here. The place had already been wired in some cases in some pretty jackleg ways, so I wasn't going to knock myself out hanging conduit and layering a bunch of industrial quality electrical work over top of a bunch of existing hack work. Though I did run conduit in a few locations and fix some particularly dangerous stuff done by previous owners. Mostly, though, the expenses amounted to some wire here, some flex there, a few more breakers, really nothing all that expensive. I rerouted a couple of existing 220 lines Added a couple more, put in dedicated 20 amp 110 lines for my grinders and various other gear. Just a lot of little things. All told, it's a little difficult to break it out to the penny, but it was roughly $750, which is a hell of a savings over what it would have cost to pay a pro. Quick note here, if you're enjoying my videos and want to support what I do, I hope you'll consider helping the channel out on Patreon. When you do, you'll get access to my library of plans. You know, I've been doing these videos for about 12 years now, so there are a lot of plans there for all kinds of builds that I've done over the years, and none of that has cost you a single penny. So if you feel like giving back, well, bless your souls. Link in the cards and description. Now, I am separating out the lighting from the rest of the electrical. Because this place is, in effect, doubling as both a video studio and a workshop, I wanted to be able to get reasonably bright and, most importantly, really even lighting. Something that was totally not the case in my old shop, where I had to just drag lights around all the time. Parenthetically, nerding out on that subject, I use a lot of manual lenses, so it's nice to not have to monkey with resetting the exposure on my cameras every single time I move them. Anyway, the solution I came to was buying a ton of these super cheap Walmart LED lights and hanging them from the rafters. I know I'll have to replace them periodically when they fail, but hey, all told, this ran me about $500. This included conduit, boxes, wire, and various light fixtures. I also had to buy a ladder, $212.92 at Home Depot. I also painted 2 rooms, so including paint, rollers, brushes, tarps, and so on, I dropped around $150 there. The expense that really shocked me the most was shelving and machine tables. I bought 5 nice solid industrial shelves from Uline and 3 or 4 relatively small steel tables or machine stands for mounting various gear on that had been located on built-in stands in the other shop. Total for all that was $2 grand. Maybe I'm wrong, but steel is so expensive right now that I suspect I would have paid about half that just a few years ago. I still need more storage space, so I've still got some things lying around in bins, but I really just couldn't afford to throw any more money at that problem. By the way, this is the sort of thing that if you have time to shop around for it, you can find shelving and stuff like that at big discounts at auctions and on Facebook Market and whatever. But you have to spend a lot of time and plan ahead. I did not. My shop is on a fairly well-traveled road with separate access from the house, so my son Jake and I installed an agricultural gate on the driveway. Honestly, Jake did most of the work. He didn't want the old man tearing up his delicate hands. Anyway, it's not there to keep out determined scumbags, but it'll sort of deter random jokers just driving by. I spent about $250 at a local feed and seed to buy the gates, and then another $150 at Home Depot and Tractor Supply for wood, concrete, and some gate hardware. Now, this next item was pretty expensive, but it was some of the best money I spent. I bought hanging vinyl strip doors to separate the air-conditioned, dirty, dusty grinder room, whatever you want to call it, from the main shop. They work great, both to keep cool air in the room and, most importantly, dirty air out of the main shop. $500 from Uline. Finally, I installed a compressed air system, again with the help of my buddy Dan Moynihan, who was crazy enough to drive up from Florida to pitch in. I was fortunate to sort of inherit a pretty sizable air compressor from the previous owner. Huge upgrade from my crappy old compressor, but I wanted air around the shop, not just there at the compressor. So I bought a semi-flex kit plus a few extra connectors and manifolds and stuff from Northern Tool for about $285. Then ended up having to buy another $150 or so worth of add-ons before all was said and done. So I ended up with air available at 5 junctions in addition to the existing one on the compressor itself. So that's all solidly attached, quick connect locations, really versatile and easy to use. That was money extremely well spent. Okay, so I'm sure there are a ton of other small expenses I'm forgetting, but that tells you the main things I dropped cash on. Bear in mind, existing shop, existing electrical, a lot of stuff already there. And still, just getting it tailored so I could really use it took quite a bit of work and money. Okay, so lessons learned. The first thing's pretty obvious. The more work that you can do for yourself, the more money you save. I was fortunate to have a bunch of friends who volunteered to help me at different stages of the game. My son helped, my wife helped, and that made a big difference. I'm also lucky enough to have some experience as an electrician, so electrical work is probably the single biggest expense in getting a new shop up and running. So I did save a ton there. But I also did a hefty percent of the heavy lifting myself. I'm almost 60 years old. I've kept myself reasonably fit, for most of my life. And if that hadn't been the case, there were parts of this move that just I flat ass couldn't have done. Even so, it was still really physically demanding. Second, it's going to take you longer than you think. Unless you pay people to do every stitch of the work, which is really expensive, you're going to lose a lot of knife making time, just the way it is. Between things that were related to selling my old house, fixing it up, that sort of thing, and then fixing up the new place, I easily lost 4 months of work. Realistically, the lost income here substantially exceeds the amount of cash that I laid out. So that's real money. Third, you can plan till the cows come home, but nothing goes according to plan. You know the old military saying, no plan survives contact with the enemy. Whatever you plan, it'll be more expensive and take longer. But none of that is to discourage you if you're thinking about doing it from making a big change. Because the fourth point here is there is a silver lining. One thing to remember, especially for guys who are, doing this as amateurs, is that, I've got a professional operation that I had to move, and, I had a certain amount of money that I could spend and basically just went ahead and spent it. If you're doing something for yourself, you can take it in stages, and you don't have to just, go crush the whole thing immediately in order to get started on it. It'll probably take me several years to fully see the benefit, but from a business standpoint, I should have done this years ago. This move won't just make my working life more comfortable, it'll open up craft and business opportunities that I probably can't even anticipate right now. And you just can't put a price on that. Well, actually you can. Here it is. All right, guys, thanks for watching and see you soon. Thanks for watching, guys. If you like what we're doing here, please subscribe and make sure that you click on that bell so you get notified of all the latest videos. Want to buy a knife from me? Check out my modern blades at tacticsarmory.com. Digging the channel? You can support our video making efforts on Patreon. I've been banging away on these videos for like 10 years, so I hope you'll show some love for all that hard work. Link in the cards and descriptions. Finally, if you're interested in making Japanese swords, check out my full line of Japanese sword videos where I show how to forge Japanese swords as well as how to polish them and how to make fittings, handles, and scabbards. WalterSorrellsBlades.com.